This is a Frank podcast.
This Warriors Life Podcast 2026, episode 40, brought to you by Kingz Container Crew. They are to container packing and unpacking and de-vanning what Andrew Webster is to rugby league coaching. Head to kingscontainercrew.com for all your container packing and unpacking solutions and hit the Work With Us tab if you want a job with those guys. Also, PlaceMakers, experts in the trade since 1981, best trade range in New Zealand. They are your know-how, can-do people. And, of course, ComfortGlaze, our newest partner, supporting our coverage of Warriors lower grades, junior teams and next-gen talent. ComfortGlaze are your retrofit double-glazing experts there in Christchurch, Hamilton and Auckland. And head to comfortglaze.co.nz for a free quote. Select This Warriors Life in the How'd You Hear About Us section, and you'll get a nice little discount from those guys. Brought to you by Frank Podcast as well. Great to be under there, be in their stable. But most importantly, we've got Keith here, subbing in for Brad. He's on Otis's birthday duties. So what an absolute sensational substitute to have. Been too long, Keith. And Fonz, the return of the Fonz as well. So exciting juncture to have both of you boys back here. I think I'll just kick back and let you have at it. But how are you both?
Man, I'm good. I'm good. It's great to be back.
Good to have you back, Keithy. Good to see you, mate. I'm good as well, Will. Seem to have kicked all the colds and flus and whatnot that were a problem through July. And, now that the season's getting real and things are getting serious, back in with full energy coming at the finals.
Well, it certainly are getting real. 3 weeks till the finals. We're in third place, but still very much in the minor premiership race. Last 3 weeks, our form's gone through the roof after a bit of a lull. That win against the Panthers, which I think we're still dining out on, bookended by massive away wins over the Gold Coast and Brisbane. A string of personnel dramas and talking points in amongst this form spike, which has thrust us into the premiership conversation. Luke Metcalf, just a week-to-week walking headline. The great comeback against the Panthers and pulled hammy. Still no word on how long he's out for. Chance taking the fullback spot back and now suspended for 2 weeks. Tomato Martin's still out and so much conjecture over who we're going to see in the halves today with Chanel, who surprisingly extended for the second time in a couple of months. So it's all go. But firstly, boys, that win over the Broncos, 40-6, felt in the bag from the opening minutes, despite the sin bin, despite Luke Metcalf's exit. A bit of a cruise in the end. But first impressions of that one, go with you, Keith.
Fizzing, absolutely fizzing. I think I heard a few fans say, they want to see the Warriors be more ruthless when they took the 2 points and then took another 2 points. I love that they took the 2 points. It shows a level of professionalism and discipline that we once didn't have. We'd sort of go for an all or nothing play, and just how sustainable the way that we play this year compared to even 2023, to be honest with you. It's just highlighted in the Brisbane game as one of a fair few games. But we were sort of, myself included, worrying how the team's going to go off the back of such an emotional win against the Panthers. Mate, we are right up for this. I don't think anyone's really competing in terms of the energy and passion of our forwards in particular. And to see Wade Egan, I don't care how biased I am, he's the best number 9 in the league right now. I would not trade him for anyone else. Sure, he's doing off the back of best forwards in the game, but Wade Egan, I'm a fanboy right now. I just, my wife and I have just got a recent goddaughter, Dragons fan, unfortunately, but I bought 2 onesies, 0 to 3 months, 3 to 6 months. Both have Nora on the back for her name and number 9 for Wade Egan as well. So, fizzing.
Yeah. How about you, Fonz? What did you take out of that one?
It was what a genuinely good team does to a team that's not really happy to go with them. Yeah, I mean, the thing that the Penrith game, this game, it just has that feel now of what the top teams, how they carry themselves and how they play. And it's funny, it wasn't that many weeks ago we were sitting here saying we were starting to go out arse backwards. Form was tapering, maybe a bit flat. The Bulldogs lost. And then something's changed. And there's been some personnel changes, but there's been an attitude change. Maybe Webby's decided now's the time to start the surge into the finals. And they look like, just a clear top side across the paddock, attitude, execution, commitment, all of those things. And, the Broncos were sloppy and lazy, and I don't know what the hell's going on up at that club. But there was a time when, faced with a team who was in that frame of mind, we get a bit loose ourselves and end up winning this 26-16 or something like that. Especially once you start layering on injuries and adversity and all the rest of it. That just never, as you said, never looked like happening. It always looked like we're going to blow them off the park. And if they even poked their nose back into the game, I reckon we would have smashed it with a good right hook or something. So, I'm super impressed with that. Loved how we did that. Obviously, I wasn't here to talk about the Penrith game, and that was crazy impressive too. And now the Roosters have beaten Penrith. It's all there, isn't it? It's a completely open 3-horse race at this point, and maybe the Sharkies will have something to say as well.
Yeah, the Sharks have sort of fallen off completely. Back-to-back losses to Gold Coast. Was it Gold? No, St George Illawarra and Canberra. Braden Trindle out for an extended period. I reckon you just about draw a line through them now. Dolphins still in the mix. Newcastle, bit of a dark horse, but yeah, it certainly does feel like it's us, Panthers, Roosters, and then a bit of a gap. But I thought it was very clinical. I mean, only 5 line breaks in the game for us. All 5 of them were try scoring line breaks, not you sort of cut through the line into the clear. They were all you sort of crash through near the line, which are recorded as line breaks. The other 2 tries intercept and from a kick. But just completely dominated through the forwards. Well, a meterage disparity of about 500 or over 500 meters, but the average set distance 42.8 to 27.8. 27.8 is tiny. And that just it felt extremely comfortable all night. No momentum, no territory for the Broncos. Stuck through for 1 try, but it was just such a pleasant, cruisy watch despite the injury and sin bin drama.
Yeah, and first time that the back 5 have all scored a try in the club's history. All really? Of the outside backs. Fullback, both centres, and both wingers. I was surprised to hear that stat. Yeah. Well, it was on the league lounge, so
okay.
Although on a technicality, Chance was playing 5/8 by the time he scored his try. So.
Oh, really?
I'm only bringing that up because I didn't include it in the stats piece today. So,
listen, League Lounge, if you're going to do stats, you got to ring Will first. Or it looks silly. But let's talk about the injuries and suspensions. So, Lukey Met kicks that goal. It was funny, wasn't it? Because nothing funny about it, but he pulled up and was swearing. But at first, I couldn't believe that he'd done a hammy. Like, I thought there was something else had happened. And then you saw him limping and still swearing, and you sunk in, oh, God, he's done his hammy. I mean, firstly, do we have any update? I've only seen sort of vague reports of this type of injuries, usually 4 to 6, that kind of thing. I don't think there's been any formal update from the club, has there? Maybe we'll get one with the team list announcement. But that might be him for the year. So let's say he's done. What do we think about that? How much of the momentum that we've picked up in the last few weeks was down to him? Let's say Tamara is back in a couple of weeks, so we're not with an extended period with neither of them. Can we still do what we're doing?
Well, it was just the Penrith game, really, and the very early part of the Broncos game that he was back for. We still put the cleans through the Titans, albeit it was the Titans who were pretty ordinary. Tomato was great in that game. Obviously, Metcalf deserved all his flowers for the Penrith game, and that was obviously a huge step up for the team. It does dent. I think it does dent our chances, even if the bookies have slashed our price to $5.75 for the premiership. I guess reassess when we see what the extent of Metcalf's injury is, but the obvious massive talking point is, if he was to come back, say, round 27 or during the finals, do you make that change again? If Tomato's playing really well, he's shown in one game against Penrith that he, what he can do and who he can be, but is that going to be enough to to ditch Tomato, who was only out of the team because of injury himself? And that's another unresolved talking point as well. Tomato still not fit himself, so
his was a hamstring too, wasn't it? Tomato
calf for.
Oh, it was a calf, was it? Okay, yeah. So they were saying he was due back 2 to 4, so that'd put him next week or the week after, I think, depending on, it's been 2, I think. So look, I mean, Webster's followed the pattern this year, hasn't he? Which is whoever's in the jersey, if they're playing well, they don't get dropped. And so I'd expect him to keep doing that. So if T comes back, say, next week or the week after, has a blinder or plays well enough and the team's winning, I don't think Webby would drop him for Metcalf. I think he'd run with what's there, I guess. It's probably but I mean, have either of you changed your, I mean, early in the season we were having this endless should Metcalf play, does it lift our ceiling debate, I was generally pro Metcalf, although I understood it was a complicated situation. There was more going on than just who's got, which individual's got the better ceiling. And then after a while, Temaro just kind of wore me down, where I'm like, well, I'm not going to drop this bloke. He's doing the job. From what you saw there in a game and a bit, does it change your view? Is there a higher ceiling with Metcalf there? Because I think there is. I thought that before. I think on what I've seen, I think there is. And so I think our best chance of winning a comp is with Metcalf in the 7. But yeah, what do you guys think?
Yeah, I think I think we all agree that the ceiling is higher with Metcalf, but the risk is higher with Metcalf as well, because he doesn't fit as seamlessly into our game plan as Tamari does, who's a bit more conventional with his sort of game management. He's not an out-and-out halfback, we see Jet Cleary or obviously Tanner Boyd, probably a more paramount example. But I just think that, I remember coming on this show a couple of years ago and we're talking about sort of who is the biggest player, who's the one player in the team that if they went down right now, it'd be the biggest blow. And I think we all agreed from memory it was Sean Johnson. So I think back to that, and the reason I mention that is because fast forward a couple of years, and we've now seen our game plan completely delineate away from the involvement of a specific halfback as a player. So the halves have become a plug-and-play position for us because we've transitioned to the forwards led by brute force, energy, and just enthusiasm and mana, but off the back of Wayne Egan conducting really subtle plays as well. So right now, my answer to my own question would be probably Wade Egan, and then maybe Fish would be the top 2 candidates for that. But where would I put the halfback? Quite frankly, maybe top 5 at best. We potentially will see a team named today with our 4th string halfback, and I'm not that concerned because we've just pulled away from the way that we're playing even in 2023, which is dependent on, at the time, Sean Johnson. And now we're realizing, whoever's in that spot has come through the last few years knowing the game plan, and it's a plug and play style system. I do worry about the boot, which everyone else does, of Tamara compared to Luke Metcalf. I did like that extra 10 meters worth of kicks in the long kicking game, but I just don't think we'll see that much of an impact on, Luke Metcalf maybe a 5% bigger ceiling. But Tamari, if you isolate them as individuals, yeah, sure. But if you factor in how they go amongst the 13 or 12 others that are on the field, I just don't think there's that much of an impact. I think we're still in it into our eyeballs.
Yeah, I'm probably pretty much on the same page as you there, Keith. The kicking game is the big one. I did really enjoy that against Penrith. I mean, it's not even that amazing. I think it just illustrates how short Tomatoes is compared to any other number 7 in the comp. Two big moments, but Tomatoes been having those big moments as well. I think it was probably the stage that Metcalf did it on that gobbled up so much attention, deservedly so. I didn't think he was capable of coming back and playing like that with all the scrutiny in such a huge game. But I do agree. I think we don't lose too much there. We've got a better defender in Tomato. We've got a guy that's played a lot more football with this team this year, assuming he can come back and hit the ground running like he did earlier this year. But and again, the fullback scenario, where do you guys stand on this? I think we can all agree that Chance was superb when he came back for Tane, and he probably would have definitely held on to the spot had he not got suspended. But it was only a few weeks ago that I think even you, Fonz, and you've been very much on the side of Chance overall. You'd sort of come to accept that Tane probably had that spot locked down. He's been very consistent, added another dimension despite the drawbacks that he has compared to Chance as far as being a physical presence and all of that. But yeah, if Tane comes back, well, he is back, and he kills it while Chance is on in the suspension ward. Does Chance just walk straight back in for the final round, or do we see Webster stick with Tane, who was only out of the team because he was injured?
Well, there's a couple of things. I mean, I still think if it was possible from the start of the year, Metcalf and Chance would have been the best balance overall with Chanel and Egan as a group of 4. And partly there's been things like, what is the ruck doing? Because the ruck interpretation changes, what you need out of fullback and so on. And then also who else is in the spine. So once you bring Metcalf back, so you got Metcalf, Chanel, then I think having Chance at fullback is probably a better fit than Tane. But when it was Tanner Boyd and Chanel, both of who are, because what do we always say? Metcalf and Chanel are both 6.5s. And then, but when you had Tanner, who's, a 7.5, having a fullback who's got a bit more in his game, a bit more creativity, a bit more link play, and so on, made more sense. So if we're now going back to Temare and Chanel, and the ruck seems to have sped up a bit again, like it kind of slowed down and then it seems to have picked back up again. I think it's a pretty line ball call. I personally think that we are more likely to win a competition with Chance at fullback. But I think the same thing will happen, which is Tane's going to get the spot. And unless he plays himself out of that spot, he'll probably hold it, and subject to injury. I think that's the same thing as Temare. That's what Webster will do.
Everything about the team right now is just lures you into a recency bias, because what you touched on before, Fonzie, is whoever has the jersey, as long as they play well, they keep the jersey. So you get injured for 1 week, you could be out for a month because someone's taken your jersey until they get suspended or injured. Chance being suspended, we might not see Chance play fullback again this year. I know that sounds outrageous, but the recency bias that I'm lulled into as well. So every time you ask me, I could come on the show every week of the year, and we could have similar kind of discussions, and I'm pretty much always going to say the person that just played in that jersey should keep that jersey, because whoever's got the jersey is playing so well. I was a big Tane Tuapiki fan, particularly coming into the season. I thought Chance is sort of, he's basically our version of Clint Gutherson, like a Kiwi Clint Gutherson kind of thing. But geez, every time he's played fullback for us, I'm like, can't drop Chance. But then Tane comes in, you can't drop Tane, and that's this is why these conversations are so difficult to answer, particularly around the halfback. I mean, we're talking about players that aren't available. It's probably one of the most interesting, or if not the most interesting team list coming up in about 10 minutes, because Chance isn't available. I assume Metcalf's not available. I assume Tamare's not available. I mean,
I don't think so.
I assume he's not. So, I mean, that brings the conversation to an obvious point. Who of the available are we prepared or we preferring to go with?
Well, can I just ask before we get into that, if Chance was available this week, do you think we would have just seen them stick with Chance in the 6 and Tane at fullback?
Fonzie.
Obviously, that's hypothetical, but that's how I reckon they would have gone.
That's what I would have done. Yeah, I think that's probably right. I think
Okay,
that's
so
probably
moving
what they would
on.
have done. Yeah.
Moving on, then, is it your options seem to be Jet Cleary, Luke Hanson, and a bit of a smoky with Jai Linane, although he's played his last game in the halves was one SG ball game in 2024 before sitting on the sidelines injured for a couple of years. So I'd be shocked if they would throw Linane in, despite the fact that he's a specialist half for his first game again as a senior player in the halves, as much as been killing it at centre. Yeah, that leaves us with Jet and Luke Hanson. Where are you guys sitting on this one?
Well, Luke Hanson filled in, was it round 3 or something like that? And I thought he did a pretty good job. So I'd probably be going there again. Both him and Jet are leaving, so there's neither of them have a sort of an argument to say we want to blood them for next year or anything like that. Jet hasn't debuted, and Chanel's really going to be the 7, isn't he? I don't know if Webby will fully move him to the right-hand side and play him in the 7 spot, but one way or another, he's going to be the 7. So you're probably looking for someone to park themselves on that left edge and play that more limited 6 role that we play. And I reckon Hanson's probably the pick of the 2 to do that, would be my sense. I know what do you reckon, Keithy?
Yeah, it's a hard one because that's another out-of-position player potentially. That's another move that you're making. You've now shuffled quite a few decks to accommodate it. If you want it's so hard. Hanson's probably a safer bet than Cleary, and you're right, Fonzie, Chanel playing 7. But Cleary is more of a halfback. He's our only remaining halfback that regularly plays at least New South Wales Cup. Jack Thompson, who I'm a big fan of, is not sort of New South Wales Cup ready yet. And Jai Linane. I think Jai Linane needs to be one of our first choice centres next year, but that's another story. I would lean towards Jet Cleary as a 7 and just keeping Chanel where he is. Limit the disruption.
If you're going to do that, if you're going to keep Chanel on the left playing 6, then I'd probably go that way too, because I reckon Jet's the more complete 7 player in that spot. But I think Linane really comes into consideration if Chanel's going to 7, because again, it's more that running 6, fewer touches, make your tackles on the left edge. It might be something to blood him. And Linane's here next year. He's going to be part of the halves combination next year, I think. So
I think Jet wanting a release probably does count against him. I also think what counts against him is whenever Jet Cleary debuts in the NRL for whoever it is, it becomes the dominant storyline of that entire week. And I just don't think we need it. And I don't think the Warriors will be all that keen for that. I also think that Chanel being the dominant sort of kicker and playmaker is not a bad thing heading into these last few rounds. He does more of the kicking with Tamata in the team anyway. He did all of it after Metcalf left 20 minutes in last week and played really well. He controlled the game, although it was probably a fairly easy one to control. A bit of a free hit for him, but he's played a lot of 7. He was a 7 coming through NYC and New South Wales Cup initially, played most of his early NRL until Johnson came back really at halfback, fair bit of 5'8" too, but it's not foreign to him. He's not, an out-and-out 6, Chanel. I think that he can handle it well, and he's been a mainstay for us, been one of our best, and coming off the back of that one I think it's less disruptive overall to have him. And with Hanson's a good ball runner. He's coming off a great game last week in New South Wales Cup. Good try, a couple of hand in both of Linane's tries, and I think that's the option that I think they'll go for, and I think I probably would too.
Well, let me ask you guys a question. Are there any, because I think Tamara will be back very soon, if not next week, the week after. Are there any attributes about South Sydney that change anything that we've just said? Are we factoring in who the opposition is at all?
Probably not, in my mind. We're at that stage of the season where I think we're worried, and with the injury concern, I think we're definitely worried about us and our own internal dynamics rather than the opposition. I don't know. What do you reckon, Will? Anything, John?
Yeah, there's a bit of whisper that Latrell Mitchell could be back, backs things up a little bit, but South Sydney have been pretty erratic all year. I don't think they hold too many fears for us. They got big names, a good pack on paper, but very up and down. Coming off an upset win over the Bulldogs last week. But I don't know. I think we back ourselves to go over and go through our same processes and just steamroll them and get the job done. I don't know that. Yeah, they'd be looking at the South Sydney lineup and thinking we've got to pick Jed or we've got to pick Luke Hanson, because of who's in their team.
Yeah, I reckon I was, as everyone else was, keenly watching that Thursday night game, and I thought if Penrith won that, we're no shot at getting the minor premiership. But if the Roosters won, because the for and against is so inferior compared to ours, that over the course of the next few rounds was the game that we needed to be a real shot of our first minor premiership since 2002. So the game that I'm relying on the Roosters to lose is the Souths game at the end of the year, just simply because of the rivalry and what it means to both sides.
And they could be desperate too, South.
Yeah, desperate. It's desperate Souths. Of the three games that we've got remaining, the one that I'm most worried about is actually this weekend against Souths. Wayne Bennett's a wily old fox, and Souths, you just really don't know what you're going to get. So I still think we're in with a real shout at the minor premiership. And because I'm conscious of, we're coming up to 4:00 here. One of the things that I wanted to get across earlier in the podcast is what seems to be completely gone from us is any form of imposter syndrome. And that's and I know I zoom out quite a lot here, but I zoom out and I remember 2011 finals series, we didn't seem like we believed we belonged there. And now we see, particularly coming off that win against Penrith, maybe that did something to really jolt hang on, we're the team to beat here. Everyone else is up against us. We deserve to be here. And quite different to that 2011 series, we've got Origin players. We've got genuine big game experience in this team with Capes, Fish, Barnett's a current Australian and New South Wales forward. So there's a big difference this year between the sustainability of what we're doing as a club and a team, but also there seems to be a genuine arrogance and belief that we're not here to make up the numbers anymore. We're not lucky to be here. Everyone else is lucky to be here with us.
Yep, I agree with that. All right, we've got a team list, Will, I can tell you.
All right, do you want to lead us off, Fonz?
Yeah, can do. So reading from the mobile app, so the fullback is Tane Dalpicki, as expected. Wingers are Dal and Loffy, again as expected, and the centers are Ali and Lecker. So no change there. The number 6 is Luke Hanson, with Chanel moving to the number 7 jersey, which is interesting. I'll be interested to see whether that moves him to the right side, though, because he's a natural left-sided player. So whether we
left-footed kicker too,
and a left-footed kicker. So whether we kind of flip the way we play and run the 7 on the left, or whether he moves to the right, not sure. Be interesting to see. The forwards. So props are Fish and Barney, as you would expect, with Egan at hooker. Back row, Capewell, Laban and Clark. Bench, so we've got Healy, Tanistow Smith, Vai Mulga, and Eddie Jeremiah Toeva. Extended bench brings in Pompey in number 18 and Morgan Gannon in number 20. And then reserves in number 21, Jet Cleary, Luke Lalili, and Micah Tafua. So Jet on the extended reserves, but Hanson, I think, he's going to play, and he's going to play in that 6 jersey.
Yeah, you wouldn't think it's a smokescreen, would you? To name Cleary in the reserves, and
could be.
I'd be pretty
Yeah.
annoyed
Well,
if I was Hanson being used as
Yeah,
smoke
100%.
screen.
Well, you
I
know
like
what? We
it.
gave Hanson his debut. Now we can give Jet his. If I was to name Jet Cleary, that's how I would do it. To be honest, I agree with Fonz. More likely, Hanson. It's just Hanson's going to play, but it's not out of the question that smokescreen comment, because if I were to name Jet Cleary with his surname, I would be doing it exactly that way.
I don't know. I think it's a bit of a coward's way out, to be honest. I know they would, but for a debut and for a debut of that magnitude and that attention, I think if he's good enough to debut, he's good enough to be named on Tuesday, and he can deal with it.
I think with Chanel re-signing and extending, and that talk around, there's been a little bit of media talk, Chanel stepping up and running the team. I think that's consistent with him playing 7 and then Hanson being your second fiddle 6. I think Cleary more your out and out 7. So I think it'll stay as named, and I'm interested to see how it goes. Just on Chanel extending, while we're still bringing that up, do you reckon we've extended him because Jet's leaving? Because it's a bit out of nowhere, that extension, and I'm wondering if we, have had to decided to upgrade an offer to Chanel now that Jet's gone, Hanson's gone, Boyd's got an ACL, and Metcalf's gone. Whether we're looking at it going, you know what, we better keep this bloke around. He turns up and plays most weeks, which is ahead of most of the other guys here. Yeah,
with a couple of expansion sides sniffing about and that sort of thing. Maybe they want to lock him down. But it did sound like the 1-year deal was very much Chanel's, choice when he did extend for 1 year. He does things a little differently. But, I mean, it's great. I'm very happy to have him locked down for another couple of years. It's unusual because he has only just signed that 1-year extension. But yeah, interesting theory and timing. It's hard not to draw those conclusions, I suppose.
Does Ewan Aitken still play in the NRL? Fucking hell, I haven't heard of him in a long time.
Yeah, 2022 Warriors Player of the Year. I just want to ask you guys, what's the point of Morgan Gannon in the squad? I mean, Riley, he's not really playing cup. Riley Price is absolutely killing it. Had a great cameo. He's already played double the NRL minutes than this year than Gannon has. Gannon's leaving. Price is staying. I just don't quite understand the thought behind having Gannon there. I know he's versatile, but he doesn't have a lot of footy under his belt and doesn't have a lot of recent footy. I know he probably won't play at all, but
whose decision to go back to Leeds was it? I assume it was his, but were we sort of trying to keep him at all?
I don't really know.
I just didn't hear anything about it, hey?
Yeah, bad head knocks, and
I mean, he's good in the sense like you're just sitting him there in number 19, and he covers your edge and middle, so he's like a versatile forward cover. I mean, that's what he's doing there, I guess. But yeah, Riley Price could do something similar. I mean, it's also the spot where if you were gonna move Jet into the 19 to keep open the prospect of a debut, he just slots straight into that position Gannon's holding.
Well, I'd almost have Jet in there, like carry him on the 6-man bench on game day for halves cover. You got Pompey covering their outside backs with reshuffles available, and a half covered. Most teams do carry a half or someone that at least can play in the halves. I know Gannon's played a bit of Super League at 5/8, but that's 4 games. And I think wouldn't be the greatest cover compared to Jet. Anyway, shall we? Or actually, before moving on to the South team, I want to get your guys' thoughts on this bench. So Lecker's move to the centres has kind of changed the makeup of the bench and opened up a spot again for when it looked like only one of Eddie, Dimitrik, and Tanner would be able to play on the bench when Jackson Ford returns. Now there's an extra spot opened up, but interesting rotation the other day. So Tanner came on first, as you'd expect. This was all after the Metcalf exit, which suggests it was obvious that only 2 forwards are going to be able to be used, and it was Eddie that came back. I know Dimitrik was has been out injured for a couple of weeks, but I thought that we would have seen Dimitri get those minutes, especially when it looked like we're on course for a pretty big win. Get some conditioning into him. Is there a possibility that Eddie has leapfrogged Dimitri in a first choice 17 for the finals? And if not, is Tanner ahead of Dimitri in the pecking order?
Good question. I mean,
you go, Fonz.
No, you go.
I wouldn't think so. To the first part of your questions, Dimitri Vayamanga is just as capable as even Lecker. Like, he is right up there on his day with Lecker's performance. Not just because they look the same to me. It's hard to tell the difference, the same hair and everything. The second question is actually a bit harder to answer because Stanislaw Smith, I almost wrote him off for 12 months ago, 18 months ago. I didn't expect him to really forge a continuous NRL career like he has, but it's just, he's so impressive. But I still rate Dimitri above both those players. But Eddie's done really well. He's progressing a little more slowly than those other two did. But at the same time, I still put him third in those three players.
Eddie still has that edge cover. I know that Dimitri probably can at a pinch slide out there, and Ford's got edge experience. But if it was to be Ford, Tanner, and Dimitri, you've kind of got three out and out props this year. So it's very interesting that Lecker shift to centre has moved the needle a little bit for that bench.
It has.
There's no sign of you go, Fonz.
I was going to say, like, Laban played 80 last week, did he? I think.
Yes, yeah. Capewell came off for 10 minutes or so, but so that's reshuffled. But but essentially they've developed into 80-minute second rows with Lecker moving.
Yeah, because I mean, normally you got to carry your 17s off and an edge back rower who can do a bit of middle. So if everything goes well in the middle, then that player 17 will come on and do, I don't know, the last 25 minutes on a edge back row and give someone a rest. And so, I mean, Eddie sort of fits that description where he can do either. So I'd be saying he's I don't think he has jumped Dimitri necessarily. He's in the 17 jersey and he's filling that particular role. There's nothing in the numbering, is there? Is Vaimaga always 16? Like, he's not. I've got a feeling he is for some reason.
Yeah.
Some train spotter in the comments can tell me. I think he's always 16. So I don't think there's anything in that. But I mean, I think all these guys. Yeah, I think all these guys will. Like, I mean, Tanner's definitely come of age this year, but he still has some games where he didn't quite have the impact I would have liked to see. Vaimaga's had a flat spot. Eddie's had some stints in games where honestly he's looked pretty ordinary, and others where he's looked really good. So all these guys are still, I think, a bit hit and miss, and getting to the back end of a long season, you're going to get inconsistent performances from them. Is probably what I would say. So on their day, each of them could overtake any of the others, I would say.
Ripping through the South Sydney team, Matt Duffy, he's had a real renaissance, come back from Super League at fullback. Alex Johnson, 26 tries in 18 games this year. I think he's got 15 and 11 in his career against the Warriors and 10 from his last 6. So danger man there, although his opposite, Dallin, is not conceding any tries pretty much. Tallis Duncan making a good fist of centre with Jack White in there. Campbell Graham, a test player on the wing. Cody Walker, Jaden Sullivan at halfback. Halfback injuries. Talking about halfback injuries, they didn't have the quality we had in the halfback spot to begin with, and they've had just as many injuries. The forwards, Tavita Totola, Brandon Smith, Keon Kaloamatangi, David Fafita, Ewan Aitken, Cameron Murray. Pretty strong looking pack. Measures up fairly well against us on paper, to be honest. Good balance, good strike, lots of size, and Cameron Murray, obviously one of the premier forwards. Interchange, Dry Gray, Lachlan Hubner, Sean Kepi, Liam LeBlanc, Peter Marmazoulos, and Ed Kossi. The ex-Warrior, the reserves, Jonah Glover, Thomas Fletcher, and Latrell Mitchell lurking in the reserves. So a possible late inclusion for Trell, which would shake things up and I guess force Duncan back to the bench, to the the second row and Aitken onto the bench. So yeah, I guess we'll just monitor that one during the week. That would give them, if he's fit, give them maybe a bit of a spark that they need. He's just so influential, enigmatic, but yeah, was certainly one player that would frighten me a little bit. And if he would be playing opposite, I'm just trying to think, he'd be up against Ali Leotawa, assuming he plays on his usual left side at centre.
On paper, good matchup.
Latrell or no Latrell? How do you see this one going, boys? With $1.60 favourites on the road. Won our last two against South. Both were at Accor Stadium. Just the one game in each of the last two seasons against them, and they're both in Sydney. Well,
there'll be
plenty of points on both.
There's a perfect excuse to have a flat or off game this week, isn't there? Right. So, there's a halves reshuffle. We've come off 2 big wins, and so there's every excuse. So, but we know that if this team comes out with the same attitude and so on that they have on the last 2 weeks, they're going to beat South. So, a real question is, do we think the team is surging and going to stay at that level, or do we reckon there might be a little dip here? I mean, to me, I feel like this team's locked in now. I don't think they're going to stop till they get knocked out of the comp. So I think they'll smoke them. What do you reckon, Keithy?
Yeah, I agree. As I said, it is of the 3 upcoming games the one I worry about the most. Just looking at that paper side on paper, there's a reason why Souths are in the top 8. They've got one of the GOAT coaches. I agree with you, Fonz. We should beat them by 20. We're just in the league above them in reality. And I particularly think that Wade Egan over Brandon Smith is a big advantage in terms of the quality of ball distribution. We should. I've got us winning by 20. I'll stick to that.
Yeah, I think even with this reshuffle, I think we've got a big advantage. I know Cody Walker can be brilliant on his day, but he's been very rocks and diamonds, and that number 7 spot's just been an ongoing problem. And Jaden Sullivan's certainly not their first choice there. They're coming off back-to-back wins for the first time this season. They're solid against Canterbury in an upset win. They're pretty scratchy the week before against Parramatta. Then they're battling their way to streaky wins. We haven't seen anything resembling I know they're in the top 8. I wouldn't say they're playing like a top 8 side or have done really all year.
Just on the back of your Rocks or Diamonds comment, Will, looking at the Souths team, that is a team of Rocks and Diamonds players. All
absolutely.
Aged names. Like, look at these names, like Jack Whiten. Where's he been since his days 2019 and a few years after with Canberra? Cody Walker, in the antithesis of Rocks and Diamonds. Jaden Sullivan, fringe reserve grader. Brandon Smith bounced around a few clubs.
Ed Cossey, the ultimate.
Ed Cossey, David Fafita, Ed Cossey. Cam Murray's probably the standout that you can't possibly put in there. But Ewan Aitken, what's he been doing for a few years now? And where's the youthful? Where's the talent that's coming through in that team? Like, where's the exciting youngster? Jai Gray, maybe? I don't know.
You could imagine this team, this exact lineup running out in a testimonial match for charity in like 2 years' time.
Exactly.
So I think we should have their measure. I know, and they have shown pockets of it, but man, they've barely put together an 80-minute performance since probably early May. I'm hoping, obviously the halves situation is a tricky one for us, and and Chan's out, we could be a bit light in the backs, but I don't know. I think from what was shown over the last few weeks and generally all season, it'd be a real drop off for us to lose this. And I reckon 20 points would be pretty solid bet there, Keithy. And I'm riding these big margins home. I'll certainly score a few points because fair bit of history on the line for us over the next few rounds. We've actually scored the most points in the league now after these fruitful few weeks, 606, just ahead of the Sharks. If we score 83 more points over the last 3 rounds, we'll pass the 2002 team for the best attacking team in Warriors history, most points in a regular season. That's certainly within our reach, I reckon, sort of 28 points a game. And this should be disastrous if we don't break this record. We've leaked 330 points. The least points in a season we've ever conceded is 393. So if we can concede on average less than 20 points a game, or around 20, then we will be the best. Well, this combination will be the best Warriors defensive side of all time. So I think that shows exactly why we are where we are.
Not quite as impressive of a stat, but I think it's worthy to point out that we are 10 points differential behind Panthers. So this could potentially be the round we go into the top 2, depending on how Panthers fare against Melbourne and Melbourne.
Yeah, well, I wouldn't even say they're completely over the line for the win there. The Melbourne bounced back last week. Panthers won 3 of their last 8. I mean, there is a possibility that the bottom's falling out of the Panthers.
Do you reckon that?
Wouldn't bank on it, but
no, because that's the thing with Penrith. Like, are they sort of faltering, or has Ivan not pushed a button yet? You know, he's going to push a button in a week or 2.
Yeah, but possibly. I mean, you just feel like they are going to bounce back, but the Isaiah Yeo injury, obviously they've made that change in their halves as well, and Casey McLean sidelined. I don't know if he's back yet, but I'll be very interested to see this game against Melbourne, because that they really drop out of top 2 and then sort of cling to their top 4 spot if they were to go down again. Yeah,
because Penrith don't really care if they're finished first, second, or third, as long as they don't have to fly to New Zealand and play us. Like, either way, if they're playing the Roosters at Sydney, either way, their home ground's a construction site. So it's like they're not that fussed about that.
They did kind of throw a game or 2 at the back end of last year, and knowing that it was likely they were going to have to come and play us in Auckland in an elimination game, which they obviously came and won. But I mean, I don't think, especially after the game a couple of weeks ago, that they'd be relishing coming to play us at Mount Smart again in week 1.
If we do play at Mount Smart, we need those temporary North Stand installed. I don't care if it's a great beer garden. Like, we need 30,000 there. Come on. We're sick of seeing 23,000 when the Auckland FC can get 30,000.
Yeah, they've got to put that configuration in, surely, for the finals that Auckland FC had. Cram as many of us in as you can. Fonz, I know we're losing you shortly. The Rugby League eye test has done, well, he always does, outstanding work. The best statistical analyst in the game, and just digs up stats and trends and stuff that no one else does. So go and check out his work at rugbyleagueeyetest.com. There's links everywhere in this episode description, and also on my stats piece on thiswarriorslife.com as well. Did you get a chance to delve into this, Fonz, or do you want me to rip through my bullet points on a very Warriors-heavy piece from the eye test?
Mate, I read it, but I didn't really get enough time since he put it out to think it through and critique it. So you rip through, and I'll chime in on a few bits and bobs. Yeah,
so the points that I plucked out of that one, Warriors have lost the 4th most games to injury of any team, 120. 5 of the other teams that are in the current top 6 on the NRL ladder, they're in the bottom 6 for games lost to injury, so they've lost the least games. So I think that speaks to that next man up and that plug and play that Keith was talking about, that you can just chuck anyone in, we just keep winning. What else have we got here? We've actually lost
just on that, Will. Like, I mean, people need to pause on that. Like, so we are the 4th most injury affected team in the comp. The Panthers, who are equal with us, are the least injury affected in the comp, and the Roosters are the 5th least. Right? That again I reckon what Webster has done, as you say, making it plug and play, 4-string halfback, you can still win games against top teams. It is the best coaching performance of the year, and his tenure over the last 4 years is the best coaching performance of the last decade in the NRL. Honestly, we don't talk about it enough. It's absolutely remarkable.
There's your eye test stuff there. A few other points that he dug up. Third most minutes to HIAs we've lost this year. Wade Egan accounts for 5 of our 21 total HIAs this season, which will surprise nobody. A few other ones that the Warriors' average distance per try scoring player is the 4th lowest in the NRL, meaning we score most of our tries close to the line, but I think that won't surprise anyone and just indicates how how good that attacking system is, and it's great that we're converting those that good ball. We had a weakness then that was letting in tries from further out than most teams. Our distance per try score in play was the 5th highest in the NRL, and we conceded 6 tries from the opposition half over the first 7 rounds. But amazingly, we haven't leaked a try from beyond halfway since those first 7 rounds, which that's great. It's a great sort of stat to carry into the back end of the year, and also against these teams we've got, particularly the next 2 weeks, South and Newcastle, who can score a long range try. And yeah, there's a great section in there on our goal line defense, but yeah, less than 6% of normal sets and 22% of adjusted sets, which are ones including a set restart, are converted into tries against us. It's us and Penrith are way out in front on this little diagram that the eye test has put together. We're just tucked away in the bottom corner in an elite zone by ourselves, and everyone else is all over the chart. And we win the battle of the middle, which surprises no one. Our net meters per run is 0.288 more, or plus 0.288. So that's your meters per run minus your meters conceded per run. So it's the highest. It's gone back to 2014. It's the highest of any year. We were in the negatives for about 6 straight years until Webster turned up. We've been in the positive since he turned up, but it just keeps going up and up. We were plus 0.245 last year. So it just illustrates, I guess, in statistical terms, what we kind of already knew about Webster and this team.
Also looks like the painting cards at PlaceMakers.
Yeah, nice little paint palette there. But yeah, go and check out the eye test. You absolutely love it. He just does such fabulous work, and very grateful for his input. Fonz, how you going there, mate? Will we sign you off?
Yeah, I better jump, boys. I unfortunately got a hard stop. So great to see you, Keithy. And Will, what's coming up? What do you got coming up now?
I've got a few bits and pieces, bit of admin. Keith, are you sticking around to keep me company for this, mate?
Let's do it.
Yeah, good man.
All right. I'll say bye, and I'll listen back later, see what I missed. Thanks, boys.
Awesome. Thanks, Fonzie. Take it easy, mate. This time has just flown by. So much to talk about. You have to make it a 2-hour show heading into the finals, I reckon. Yeah. So we do have a couple of things. The no ugly salty moment. Now, no, there wasn't too many salty moments that people could bring up again after a big win, but we do have a winner. This guy's been knocking on the door of that case of no ugly salty. 12 500ml cans of no ugly scientifically formulated replenishing isotonic hydration drink. It's bloody good stuff, and we're very grateful for No Ugly for sending these out to a lucky listener each week for the salty moment. And this week, Mike W gets the chocolates, and just another game, another halfback injury. So poor old Mike was a bit salty about that, but it'll be soothed by this case of No Ugly that is getting sent out to him.
What's he say? Is as salty as seeing another half go down. I reckon we can look at this as a positive. Look at how many halfbacks we've lost this year, and look where we are on the table. That's Tanner Boyd, Metcalf, Tamari Martin, and now Metcalf again, all affected this season. Have any other team had this many halfback dramas this year? Stat checker, Will.
Yeah, I haven't actually crunch the numbers quite to the extent that Mike would like me to, but I'd say South Sydney's the only team off the top of my head that could really compare to having that much disruption. And it's, as you've talked about, Keith, just so seamless. Despite every player that's come in has actually killed it. Like Tanner Boyd, round one, and just form halfback at the comp for the first few months. Tamate Martin, unbelievable from the minute he stepped in Suncorp Stadium, and then Luke Metcalf, probably most remarkably to come back and play like he did. Chanel jumped into halfback and guided us very impressively. So yeah, hopefully we'll see the same from Chanel, and then Tamate if he's back next week. But yeah, it's just quite a remarkable week-to-week storyline. But thanks to No Ugly and Get Your Salty Moment in over the weekend. Get as creative as you want, and you could be winning a case of that to your door.
I've got a couple of random things to be salty about.
Oh, you got some salty, have you?
Completely random. Same one as last time on the episode. The ticket prices in Australia are outrageous. All right. You cannot be charging $130 for a ticket to the NRL. International bands don't even charge that much. Roosters, Parramatta, North Queensland Cowboys. Yeah, fantastic stadiums, but we just signed a $5.3 billion TV deal. Don't be greedy. Don't gouge the fans. Ticket prices. Second, completely random one, nothing to do with the Warriors. Get your shit together, Canberra, and build a fucking new stadium, all right? That stadium is like 20 minutes out of town. It was built when, they moved from Queanbeyan in the early 80s. It's a bowl. It's terrible. It may look all right when it's full on the TV, but you go there, you can barely see because, the elevation's terrible. Just got a light rail in that city. So it's a tram for those people who don't know that term. A brand new rectangular stadium can be city building stuff. Get your shit together for the Brumbies and the Raiders. That's my salty rant.
Oh, I love that. Good work there, Keith. I should get you a case of No Ugly, I reckon, mate. But it's probably long forgotten that when they moved to what was called Bruce Stadium back in 1990 from Seifert Oval, the fans are up in arms. It was a huge controversy. And obviously, people just get over it. But it is a pretty scabby looking stadium on TV.
That's a shithole.
You really like coming on and having a crack at other teams' stadiums. I love it. We've got the ComfortGlaze Lower Grade Report. So thank you to ComfortGlaze for supporting our coverage of these lower grade teams. Now, 2 wins at 4 Pines Park on Saturday, so great stuff. Neither was that convincing against pretty low-ranked opposition. So the Warriors charge back into finals contention. They're looking very dicey for a while there, but they're put themselves back in the top 5 and very much on course for the finals. 18-12, they were scoreless after halftime, but hang on to that 6-point advantage. Jai Linane, another great double. I mean, geez, he just looks so good at centre.
He is the future.
Yeah, I'd love to see what he can do with a bit of, I guess, free reign at 5'8". I mean, a ball running 5'8" like that would be pretty mouth-watering. But yeah, a genuine centre option. He looks the goods. I wouldn't have any hesitation bringing him in should something happen to one of our boys that are in there at the moment. And as I mentioned before, Luke Hanson, I thought played really well. Nicely taken solo try and a hand in the other two. Some big numbers from a couple of guys as well. The mid-season recruits have continued to go really well. Riley Price and Luke Lalili had about 400 metres between them. So they've been great pickups, if not getting much of a run in first grade. They've been hugely valuable for our New South Wales Cup title defence. So they head to Redfern to take on Souths in the second last round on Saturday. Really good chance to cement their spot ahead of the finals. Now, the Jersey Flegg team, Manly, by the way, coming last with 1 win in that grade. So probably a bit of an underachievement, 18-12. But Manly's down the bottom to Jersey Flegg, or near the bottom. Got a 26-24 win over them at 4 Pines Park. We led 22-6 at one stage. So, conceded 3 of the last 4 tries, but hung on. A couple of good moments in there. Our Warriors team's out of finals contention, unfortunately, but some good moments and some very bright young prospects. Brandon Norris, another great try. I think he's a competition-leading try scorer. And, can't wait to see him to progress through the grades as well. Desmond Laban scored a try. I'm assuming he's Jacob's brother, but I haven't actually seen confirmation.
I'm not sure either.
Nice runaway effort. That was Mark Sigavea intercept and a long run from Jack Thompson. Set up our other winger, Jiraiya Vangana Malaitai. So, good to see the Fleet Boys break a 3-match losing streak, and they play South as well this weekend.
Is Harry Inch playing lock?
Yes, he's been moved to lock, which is an interesting one. I guess with all these halves going from our club at the end of the year, he's pretty much a walk-up start to be in the New South Wales Cup halves. It could be him and Thompson, I suppose.
Thompson's got to come through. Lene needs to be playing one of our two centres next year. I don't know if he can he kick goals? Do you know? Maybe not. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah. Just on the goal kicking, I mean, did Luke Metcalf need to come back and start kicking goals? I mean, that's one thing that we haven't mentioned. He is just so brittle, and nothing against him. Some players just, they just have terrible luck or their bodies aren't up to it. But, he had 2 games back at 5'8", injured. And then, that sparked basically him leaving the club. And now a game and a quarter back, hamstring injury. Why tempt fate by goal kicking?
Chanel's got the mental shakes when it comes to goal kicking. If he's kicking for the grand final win, geez,
he does. But Metcalf is a sub 70% kicker. It's not like he's elite. I just thought it was totally unnecessary. He had a really bad shank as well earlier before wobbling one through and injuring himself. Might have to give the goal kicking to Barney, I reckon. Saw him and Eddie actually nail them from the sideline.
I did see that, actually. That was impressive.
Yeah. And quickly touching on our NRLW side, disappointing loss to the Tigers, some bright spots, but they're largely outplayed. They were down 16-0, 3-try burst late in the first half, including an absolutely sensational Emanita Paki long-range try on the halftime buzzer. Set up by Api Nichols and Kalaratai. But, and then sort of clocked off again, fell 10 points behind, 2 very quick tries to level it up, and then just faded in the last 10. So still finding their way. They're still in the top 6. It's a 16 final series, but tough one this weekend against, I believe they play the undefeated ladder-leading Roosters on Sunday. So, big ask for them to come away with the win there. I'd love it if they could. Might just quickly whip through that team list there. Mila Hufanga, who's obviously so exciting to see her come into the team and perform really well initially. Very, very quiet against the Tigers. Needs something more from her. Stacey Waka on fire in the other centre spot. And Taisha Ekanasio scoring tries for fun out on the wing there. I'd like to see a bit more from Gail Broughton as well in the 7. Any big changes there? A few shuffles. Mareri Pukatapu from prop to second row. Fedalanga coming to the bench, from the bench to start in the front row. And Christabel Monosimo Tuilepa is left out. Nothing too dramatic there from Ron Griffiths. Pretty much more or less the same team running out again. So hopefully at least put in a confidence boosting effort against a very strong Roosters team who are title favourites, I'd imagine. I
think we're another year away from really being one of those teams. We've got it in us though. I've noticed all of our grades that are sort of lower grades, or not that NRLW is a lower grade, but still prone to those late fade outs that used to be so synonymous with the Warriors. It's never in the bag until it's in the bag, and they'll surrender big leads and stuff like that. Now, it makes sense for a New South Wales Cup and those junior boys a little more, because we got rid of what would have been 95% of our NRL game experience for the title-winning New South Wales Cup team last year, which is what we should. It's almost like a bushfire to replenish, because the big goal is the NRL. So it kind of makes sense. But I've just noticed it's almost like watching the Warriors of old when you watch those grades.
Yeah, it's a good observation, actually. And yeah, this NRLW team certainly has a bit of that about it. Probably not quite as much NRLW experience as a lot of other clubs. And, we haven't sort of obviously got clubs from Australian teams, but not so many of those. The Jillaroos are the benchmark in women's rugby league, and we're not getting too many of those sort of Aussie imports coming over to play for the Warriors just yet. Not saying we necessarily need them, but probably, a few years sort of moulding a squad. And obviously in NRLW, the shortened season makes it, doubly hard to gel anyway. But I think, they're overachieving for me from where I thought they would be coming back into the comp at the start of last year.
Random comment, but it's only a matter of time before we see games played at the same time. Like if we're going to 20 teams in the NRL, and the NRLW is probably going to go longer season, probably a couple more teams added fairly in the near future. Like you're going to have to have a Fox Sports 2 or a Sky Sports, the Fox League 2 or something like that. Yeah. Otherwise, you're going to be playing games at 10 a.m.
Yeah, it was just going to be more footy. Before I forget, congratulations to avid listeners, Brendan and Trish Kerr. We met them at Magic Round last year. Lovely couple, lovely people. And congratulations on tying the knot. They're big fans of the show. So
nice.
Yeah, TWL's favourite couple. Got anything else there, Keith? While we've dragged you back in there to subbing for Brad, your moment in the spotlight.
I'll tell you what, my wife and I have been together for 16 and a half years now. And when we got together in 2010, Australia vs Ghana Soccer World Cup, specifically halftime, first kiss. Anyway, Warriors made the grand finals. Everyone listening knows in 2011. And I got tickets, and then we go to the game. Kelly Clarkson played beforehand. There's a good vibe in the stadium. And lo and behold, we lost that one, and then we spent the next 9 or so years doing the Tigers, basically. And she told me a couple of years ago, she said, when we first got together, I thought my new boyfriend follows a gun team. Now I realise your team was shit. And I'm like, hey, it's our year, mate. It's our year. Yeah. And I stand by that comment.
Good. Nice one. Oh, well, hopefully, you can be proven right this year. It's very exciting. These next, it's only, less than 2 months, 6 or 7 weeks to grand final. It's incredibly exciting times, Keith. And
24.8% of ticket sales are for Warriors fans.
Yeah, that's mad.
1
in
in 4.
That's crazy. It's some confidence. Well, hopefully you've got a team to support on the day. All of you have snapped up tickets. That's outstanding stuff. Keith, we'll definitely get you back more often, especially in this lead up to the finals and through the finals, mate. I'm sure we'll be putting on some more episodes. And thanks to Lance O'Hire again for coming on last Friday for that preview episode. Great insights. He's chomping at the bit to come on again. I think we're going to have him ahead of the Newcastle game next week and during the finals as well. So fantastic to have Lance on board. But I think let's just kick back for a couple of days and enjoy this game against Souths. Hopefully another, what would it be, 4 straight. Keep in that minor premiership hunt.
Yep. This weekend, key game. Let's do it.
Yeah, get into it. Thanks to Kingz Container Crew, PlaceMakers, ComfortGlaze, No Ugly, and Frank podcasts. Most of all to you, Keith, today, though, mate. Thank you for being with us today, and everyone listening, commenting.
Pleasure is mine.
Yeah. Fantastic. Righto. Until next time, everyone, take care of yourselves and each other.